welcome Team Grattan. You may start when you're ready.
Thank you everyone for coming to Grattan Consulting's presentation on our strategic recommendations for Charlie's Group. Now, given Charlie's Group strong balance sheet, their robust management team, their unique market position, as well as their strong brand equity, we believe that the following 3 strategic recommendations are vital in ensuring that Charlie's Group remains competitive in the next 5 years. So obviously we have an increased presence in Australia due to our increasing market share in obviously due to the fact that Australia is our biggest export market and it's increasing year by year, as well as the acquisition of Grattan, a beverage manufacturing company in Australia. And we believe that this increased presence in Australia we must act on right now. Secondly, Charlie's Group must have the ability to support future growth in the future to ensure our vision of expanding into international markets, as well as ensuring our local and international brand equity. So our increased presence in Australia, obviously the next stepping stone for a company like Charlie's Group, which is already well established in New Zealand, is to increase our market share in Australia by capitalising on our increased presence in Australia through the manufacturing company, as well as the fact that we have an already existing presence there. And secondly, due to our increased presence in Australia, we need to increase our brand equity that is already well established and a vital component of the fact that Charlie's Group is successful in New Zealand. And secondly, to support the future growth of Charlie's Group, we need to sustain our brand equity locally and increase it internationally into the markets that we expand into, as well as ensuring that we have a strong balance sheet on which we can base and fund all of our future expansions locally and internationally.
So the first thing that we want to, out of the 3 strategies that we've come up with, the first one I want to direct you to is introduction of new products and innovation. So Charlie's in itself has been positioned as one of the innovators in the market, and as such we want to keep that edge because that becomes our competitive edge. So there'll be innovation of new products, which I'll lead you through. The second one is the leverage of supply chain. So as Richmond just mentioned, since we've acquired a new logistical supply in South Australia, that allows us to have that access to the entire supply chain. And in doing that, our profits get a bit of a boost. The third one being the existing consumer channels. So we want to enhance the market that we've already established within New Zealand, and in doing that, use the key stepping stone, which is the Australian market. And because our product already exists in the Australian market, we want to take that to the Australian culture. And as such, it will be through cafes and on-ground marketing. So the first one, the introduction of new products innovation. We've developed 2 key things that we want to focus on. First one is the bottled water industry. Now the bottled water industry is big and it is harsh and it's hard to get into and stay alive. But one of the advantages that we have is that the brand equity that exists already for the Charlie's and Phoenix company is that we're organic. So this is not going to be a key focus, we're not going to market too much into it, but it's definitely an opportunity that we can explore. The third one being the fusion product. So within the next 5 years strategy, we want to come up with a product that basically leverages off the existing beverage product. So from the information that we have, statistically it's shown the coffee beverage market is hitting the decline stage of the PLC. And as such, that group of beverage consumers is there basically for the taking. And in doing that, we want to create a fusion product, which will be a combination of something that will provide you with the energy. So psychologically and physically, it will have the qualities that coffee will give you, but it's new, it's different, and it's to the side, to the left of the coffee. So that's what we're doing. The next one, which is strength existing consumer channels. So local resellers, again, like I said, the positioning strategy that we have on ground marketing within Melbourne and within Australia is that we want to take the culture into consideration, such as that the difference between New Zealand and Australia is that Australian people, we embrace our cafe culture. And we like that we have our little niche markets which exist within Australia. Now that could be such things like Fitzroy, Brunswick, so the obvious ones that the local community knows about. And we are an SME, we realise that, and acknowledging that we don't want to do anything that's mass marketing. So our marketing strategy is local resellers, so our cafes and our niche supermarkets. And the grocery channels. So in terms of our 5-year strategy, which will be explained in a second, the grocery channel we want to do is we want to ensure that supply is already on the shelves before we implement our marketing strategy, which is through our public relations and through our media releases. The third one is to leverage on a local supply chain, so maximise our margins. In doing that, as I've just said, is that because we have that control of the supply chain and we have a guaranteed number of supply coming in for the next 5 years, in doing that we can ensure our profits. So that will come into the budgeting that we have. The increased product availability. Yeah, so basically we want to ensure that we have control over how our product is marketed. So that comes from logistical range and our the geographical advantages that come with that. The sustain and increase brand equity. So there's two things. We recognise that in order to expand and increase into new markets, we want to make sure that we tie down and have a firm grasp of what we already have established, which is the New Zealand market. And in doing that, the brand innovation, we can use New Zealand market, which has already been seen as a competitive market by big companies such as Fruitful and Coca-Cola. So in doing that, we want to use New Zealand as a bit of a testing ground in a sense that our new marketing strategies, which will be local, such as brand endorsement by local celebrities, so that can be sports stars. So we're not talking about big Kylie Minogue endorsements, we're talking about local sports stars that the actual local customers can relate to. Establishment of Brand Australia, it will be a similar strategy, so because the product itself is unique and it's a niche, we want to take unique and niche celebrities and people who consumers can relate to. So brand innovation, the local celebrity endorsement which I just referred to, procure a new consumer market. Now one of the key marketing strategies that we come up with is to take these celebrities such as footballers and take them to the primary schools. Now the advantage of taking it to the primary schools and high schools and things like that is to have just small programs that in a sense introduce our product to the market, but because we have that organic edge, we want to leverage that, take it to the new level, which is that healthy food range and healthy eating and healthy lifestyle range. So through promotion of that, these athletes are willing to work with us because we've maintained that image throughout the life cycle of our product and brand. Introduction of new market, which comes from the bottled water and the fusion water, so the fusion drink. And the brand establishment in Australia. So as I mentioned before, we already are having a presence within the Australian market. So we want to enhance these key characteristics that we have, which is that we're 100% organic, totally locally produced, so our products are premium, and we ensure the quality of these. And the demographics, as I mentioned earlier, is the culture, the cafe culture, and personally marketing through celebrities.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the third recommendation, which is to increase the balance sheet. Okay, so we believe that Charlie Group needs $4.1 million to fund future projects. $2 million it's going to need to spend on marketing into next year. $2 million it will need to create and develop its bottled water and fusion products, which have already been discussed. So this will be spent on things like developing the product, such as the packaging, researching the product, getting it sampled before it actually hits the market, buying the equipment. So we've estimated that to be $2 million. We also will need $100,000 to get Mark Schwarzer, the goalkeeper of the Socceroos, to endorse our brand. Okay, so where are we going to get this money from? We do have approximately $15 million of equity, but we've only got around $2.8 million of working capital. Okay, so we think that taking out a loan is the best way to go, and this would give us a $410,000 annual interest expense, which would be covered quite comfortably with our EBITDA, and this would be $123,000 in savings due to the interest. Okay, now looking at the NPV of implementing the water bottle and fusion products, we've estimated it to be $23.9 million, which is a high figure, so we assume that we would accept it. It does seem quite high, which is why we've done an NPV sensitivity. So even if we only have a 1% growth and a 14% discount rate, we still see an NPV of 12 million, so we would recommend it. Now this is what our revenue is going to look like if we take on these new two products. The green line, as you can see, is a higher revenue, and it's going to be around $30 million by financial year 11. So we definitely see a big upside there. Now I'm going to pass it on to Joseph, who will discuss the timeline. Thanks, Oscar. No worries.
We realize that Charlie will not be able to support and perform all of our recommendations at the same time. As an SME, we realize that they have limited capabilities, so that's why we have built a certain timeline according to Charlie's conditions. For the first recommendation, this will be done throughout the years, from the start to the end. And then for the second recommendation, once we have the product on the market, we will start doing the charity endorsement to increase the
That's time,
visibility.
thank you.